Okay, this is COMP308. It's Emerging Technologies. It's week 3, lesson 3, part 1. And we're talking about, I just kind of did a little poll before the video started, which was how many of you have started, and it kind of indicated that most people have not started their assignment number 1. I think, like I said earlier, you need to get going on it. Part of the piece is it seems like a big assignment to do, right? Some people are like, holy crap, I don't know where to start. Or it's just big and I don't want to start it. That kind of thing. It's just big. So my piece is let's build something together. Let's do some wireframing together today and do a little bit of brainstorming, right? And I'm going to go to you guys. This is going to be an interactive session. So if you're thinking you're going to sit down today and watch, right? That's not going to happen. I'm going to ask each and every one of you for input, right? So perk up, right? Because when I come around, we're going to talk about your ideas when we kind of put together our pages. And I'm going to pull up my, I'm going to pull up the document that we need for our assignment, right? So we can use that as a guide to make sure we hit everything we need to hit. So here's our assignment number 1, our portfolio website I kind of talked with you about last week. So again, we're kind of creating these pages. I need a site logo, a personal bio, and so on. We're going to hit some of these things to create something like this. This is my kind of worst case scenario wireframe. That's what I like to call it, the worst case scenario wireframe. If you can't think of a wireframe, here it is, right? This is something that you could use as an example of what you want to put together. Yours might look similar to this, but this would be, the most boring kind of result, right? But it would pass. So the first thing it says on 1A is a unique company logo, which you get 2 marks for. Let's do that. Let's try and take some time right now, if you haven't had a chance already. Now, for some of you who have already done it, right? And I know there's one guy here in the class who's kind of already pretty much finished his stuff. Follow along. I need your input anyway, right? Just so that way, since you've done it, it's a good example for us to get some input. So again, I'm creating my logo, right? And we're not graphic artists here. So let's talk about some ideas. How would you think you're going to create your logo? Tell me some stuff. I'll go to you first. So you need to create your logo. Have you done it yet? No. Okay. So tell me what are you going to do? Your name and initials. Okay. There we go. There's a logo idea. Some people are going to do this. There's some really cool open source software you can download to do this kind of stuff. So let's say you don't have access to Adobe products like I do. Like I like to use Fireworks. That's my favorite, program to do simple web kind of, imaging, right? The other one to use would be Illustrator, right? Because that's more of a professional level. I want to create a logo with Illustrator. You have some tools to use there or whatever, right? Photoshop would be the other one if you want to use Adobe stuff, right? But let's say you don't have access to this stuff and you have no money, right? Like most of us don't have. And you want to do stuff. Well, I would recommend, there's a couple of really cool tools out there. One of them to learn and to use is GIMP, right? If you don't know what that is, it's a image manipulation program that you can download and use. I'm just going to go there and show you where it is. So you go to www.gimp.org when we actually get there. There we go. And you can download and install GIMP. It's free to use. The learning curve can be a little steep at times. When you look at this, it's not like other programs. So there's a bit of I need to know how to use this kind of thing. There's some really good documentation on it and tons of tutorials out there on how to use GIMP, right? I'm not going to go over that today, but GIMP would be one way of doing it for sure. So that's one tool I recommend if you don't have access to more advanced tools like Fireworks. I'm going to be using Fireworks today. Maybe a little bit of Sketchbook Pro, right? Because that's what I do with my Sketchpad and stuff, right? But you don't need this kind of stuff. I'm just showing you what I would do, right? The other one is Inkscape would be another really, kind of free, open source kind of program to create vector graphics, right? So if let's say you want to do something like an Illustrator thing, you don't have Illustrator, but you want to use something like it, you want to do vector graphics, then Inkscape is for you, right? And so it's another one that's free and open source. You can download lots of tutorials online about this one as well. So that's the two tools that I would use to kind of put together some graphics. Worst case scenario, you can always use Paint, right? Nowadays, Paint, especially on Windows 8, it's pretty good. It's not bad at all, actually, in terms of your bare minimum. What did you use for your logo?
I use an online website. I just googled an online image maker website.
Okay, online. And what did you just, you know what it
I
was?
think it was image-maker.com or something.
Imagemaker.com. Let's just go.
Sure.
Imagemaker.com. Okay, hopefully it's not going to give us some kind of crazy.
No.
That's not it.
Maybe there's no hyphen.
Imagemaker. Sure. GIF Maker?
It might have.
Or this one.
No.
The Imagemaker Studio.
No,
.com. Anyways, we don't know what it is, but my take is you got to use what you feel comfortable with. So if you've always used Paint, or if you've always used Photoshop or Fireworks like me, or Illustrator, or you've used GIMP before or something else, use those things. The other thing you can always do is some of you are in this 3D stuff, right? This you're in your 3D game design section. No? How many of you are doing that? I think you are. For 3D stuff. Max, you're doing it too, right? You're doing games, right? So some of you are in the game design thing. Another really cool thing to download and install, and I kind of showed you this before, but I'll show it to you again, some of you anyway, is Blender, right? I think if you go to blender.org and you want to do something that's 3D, wow, they released 2.7.3. Blender is a 3D image kind of creating software, and it creates models and meshes that you can use for your work in Unity. If you're going to do Unity from a workflow perspective, Blender and Unity work very nicely together, right? But let's say, for example, you just want to make it so that you want to create a 3D logo, right? Then Blender would be the way for you, right? So how does it work? Let me show you. I use Blender fairly regularly, so I can show you some of it. So here's Blender. Now I got 2.7.2, but it doesn't matter. B, mind you. And in Blender, what I can do here is I can create my graphics. I'm just going to erase my cube here for a second, and I'm going to add in there some text. And the thing is with the text, I'm just going to kind of zoom in here so you can see what I'm talking about. Here's my 3D text, right? And right now, I'm just going to go into edit mode and change this. So let's say you said you're going to make your initials. Mine are TT, right? So TT is kind of boring, but it almost looks like pi, right? If you put them together, the two T's. I've kind of noticed that before. I don't know about you. Anyway, so this is cool, but they're kind of flat. And if you notice it from here's my plane, they're kind of flat, right? My T's are flat. On my plane. Well, with Blender, what you can do, of course, is you could rotate across the x-axis 90 degrees to kind of pop them up. So now they're up, right? And the great thing about them is you can add things like on the right here, you've got all kinds of controls, right? Where you can you could change up the thicknesses and so on of the letters. I'm just going to zoom in here so you can see a little better. And again, there's tons and tons of, and this is free and open source software, by the way. You don't have to pay anything for it. So if you're someone who likes to fool around with 3D stuff, because you're someone who's going to use it for you're going to use it for creating your own work and so on. You could totally do this. I'm just going to make it so that way we extrude a little bit. Let's just get rid of this depth. I don't like the depth. Okay, and let's just rotate it again so you can see got a bit of a depth thing going on there, right? And with these two, these are letters, right? But what you can do is you can use this to create your own background, right? Because with Blender, and again, I'm going to center my three-dimensional cursor to the center. There it is. right? And in there, I'm going to select a new mesh, a new plane, which I'm going to rotate on the x-axis by 90 degrees. And if you notice, here it is right here, right? And it's hard to see both the images. Now, they're two separate images. I'm going to actually scale this thing about 10 times so it's in the background, right? And I'm going to change the material for it so that it's like white or something like that. Let's go to the materials, go new, and I'm going to make this diffuse material, but we're going to change it right to white, right? And I'll take the specularity away because specularity is kind of like reflection, reflectivity, right? So we don't want any of that stuff, so I'm going to reduce the intensity of the specularity to 0, right? And when I do a rendering, right now I'm seeing this in straight object mode. If I go to render mode, if I go to, let's go back to solid. Also, the important thing is my camera. My camera is looking at it like this, and what I need to do is I need to go in here and lock my camera to view. By the way, you don't have to remember any of this stuff. I'm just showing you that you can use a tool to do some of the work for you, even if you're not an artist, right? So here I am. Oops. So here's and I got no lighting right now, so I can add lighting and all that kind of stuff. But if I go into probably shading will be something else I want to do. I want to go into GLSL, kind of shading. I want to make the background for my image. Right, so I'm going to go out of camera mode. So again, you select with Blender, you select with the right mouse button. But let's say, for example, with my here's my, I want to make this thing, let's say red text. I don't know, I'm just picking color, okay? And, but I also want this to be shadeless, so I don't want it to be affected by any kind of lighting, right? So it's going to kind of glow. And if I go back into my rendering, if I go back to rendering, and I render the image now, it's going to look like that, right? Like a flat image, right? So I'm creating my image here in 3D, but it doesn't really matter, right? My image is really, what I'm trying to do with it is, I'm going to go back into using the tools that I have is what I'm trying to tell you to do, right? Use the tools you have at your disposal. Some people are really great at using certain tools, and you know, my recommendation is if you're used to using Paint or Photoshop to create your logo, then you can start doing it that way, right?
Could you export it?
Yes, I can.
Could you show us?
Sure. So from here, I've got my image, TT. Now it's just like my image, right? I haven't done anything to it yet. Let me do a couple things more to it. How about that? All right, because I think this is kind of boring still, right? So, so again, I got my image. I'm just going to zoom in here, right? So I set up my camera and my image. I want to maybe get it from an angle because you know what? I don't think a dead-on straight image is kind of cool, right? I'd like to get it like this, and I also want to kind of add in maybe another kind of something else like a circle or some kind of a UV sphere. So here's my UV sphere in the middle, right? I'll pull back so you can see it, right, from this perspective, right? I'm going to get rid of this thing here for a second and move this down. And from this angle, I'm going to bring it down behind my logo here, right? My thing, and go back so I can see the sphere behind my image. So it looks different, right? I'm going to smooth it up, so I'm going to go into edit mode, and I'm going to go into I'm going to go into subdivide, and that's probably good enough. And then I'm going to probably add in a modifier, a subdivision surface modifier to make it smooth. And then I'm going to go out of edit mode and just click smooth to make it ultra smooth here. So I see it's almost like a round, a smoother image, smoother surface. Let's go back to my camera view for a second just to see what I have. This is what my camera will see, right? So I'll put that lock camera to view here for a second. I'm going to modify the view so it looks like this. So when you see my logo now, it'll be like this. So I got red on the foreground. I don't know. Let's put some black. We'll make a black sphere on the background, right? With white in the background, right? So there's this. So it'll be red here, black, and then white over here. No shadows. I could add shadows to make it neat, but this is what I'm doing here, right? And let's make it like that so you can see the pie nicely, the pie shape with two T's, right? And I'm just going to select my sphere here and go back to my materials and choose a black material. So I'm going to turn this right down to make it black, right? And I'm going to turn my specularity off again because from a specularity that it kind of creates that that glow, right? I'm also going to make it shadeless, right? So all my images are shadeless right now, right? I'm going to take away my pad and then go into my rendering mode and see what I got if I like it. So that's what it looks like. Looks like a circle with nothing on it, right? If I put back this, if I go back and I turn my specularity back on again, right? So I don't make it shadeless anymore. I make my intensity quite shiny, right? And by the way, you can change the type of surface. Right now, I've got a diffuse surface, and I can make it as shiny as I want. The more specular I make it, the more shiny I get, kind of a shine to it, right? I've got nothing to light it yet, so I'd have to modify my lights, but let's take a look and see what that looks like, right? So see, you still can't see it because there's no lighting that's on it, right? And the way to do that, of course, is, let me just take that off and go back out. Oops. Take that off and go back out. And we have a light source. Here's my lamp. I'm just going to go way out here so I can show you where my lamp is. This is my lamp. And right now it's just an ambient light, right? I'm going to change this thing into a spotlight. And I can re-angle it. If you notice, I'm going to go rotate to rotate it so it kind of hits it. I'm going to just use orthographic mode for a second. I'm going to hit it from the right side. So here's my right side. I'm going to angle it, so I'm going to rotate it so it hits it from the right. And I'm going to view it from the front, from the top maybe. Here's the top view. And I'm going to go move my light source so it's kind of in front. Actually, I like it where it was. Maybe there, that might not be bad. Angle it so it hits the sphere a little bit more. And let's also look at it from the front, see what it looks like. There's my front. So my light source is up here, aiming down, right, at my sphere, right? Light source is not that powerful. Let's make it a little bit more. Let's make it 5. So a little more powerful in terms of light. And now let's render. And it's just to see where we're at with it. There we go. A little bit of a light source, right, that's hitting my sphere. So it looks like a sphere now, as opposed to a simple circle, right? Now, if I don't like that, again, this is not bad. I'll show you how to kind of export in a second. But if I don't like this, I'm just going to zoom in here to my camera view. So I'm going to go to camera. This is what I like. I'm going to go back to locking my camera to view. If I want a more of an angle, or less of an angle, or a different angle, I can just change the angle of my camera, right? And let's say I want less of an angle, right? So let's try it like that. And then I can go back to rendering and see what that looks like. You know what? Maybe I like that the most. Nice and centered, and you know. I'm not going to use all of this, right? It's just the way it is. And by the way, it's nowhere near perfect. I mean, I can spend more time on it, get another letter, highlight the back with a different color, blah, blah, blah. Spend more time, right? We don't have time, so we have to move on. So I'm going to go to image. Here's where you export it. I'm going to go to image. And I'm going to go to save as image. Now, if you notice, when I go to image on the rendering perspective, it tells me what kind of images I can export to it. If you see down here, which would be over here, right down here, I can choose a PNG image. I can choose different formats, a JPEG, a TIFF image, and so on. I could even choose an AVI, like a movie. I can export that as well. But for now, I'm going to leave it as PNG. Right, there's the PNG image right here. And when I go image, save as image, Blender will take me to save it somewhere. And since we're creating this new object, I'm going to go into my my downloads folder. I'm going to create a save my image there for now. And we're going to call this tomlogo.png, right? Because that's my thing. You can call yours whatever you want. I'm going to save my image. It's going to take me back here. I'm going to escape. If I wanted to save my Blender project, which might be a good idea, I could certainly go in there and save it so I can go back. I'm not going to go back. This is just for you guys. So, and I can always do this again. This is my logo. This is how I did it, right? I'm going to do some post-production work though on it, and because I think I need to do that. So I'm going to pull up. Like I'm using the Mac, but the Windows Blender works just the same. Like really, it's just as good. And there's tons and tons of tutorials on it, like I said before. Here's my logo. I'm going to open this with my Fireworks program now to do some post-production. So I've got my logo that came in from all right, Fireworks. And sometimes she works, and sometimes she doesn't. That's unusual. Maybe it's because I'm running a virtual machine at the same time, but that's fine. Yeah, just before this I ran it. Yeah, she's not running properly today. My Fireworks, she don't like me so much today for some reason or another. It might be because I have to reboot my system or whatever. I'm not going to take my time to do that. I'm just going to pull up another piece of code, I'll just use Illustrator. Hopefully this will work. And not all my AI stuff is done. There we go. So I've got Illustrator here. Wanted to use Fireworks, but that's fine. So I'm going to go File, New, and in my Illustrator file, I know my logo is going to be small. This might be like 150 by 150 at the end of the day, but for now I'm going to call this Logo and Illustrator. And let's say for my width and height, I'm going to make it the size approximately. It's kind of a squarish size, so 300 by 300. And press OK. Here it is. And then what I'm just going to use Place to make a copy of the logo in here. And I'm going to go into my downloads, where I'm going to find my logo and place it. It's pretty huge, right? Oops. Oh, there I am. And I'm going to zoom back in again just to go into, let's say, 50%. And it is somewhere on my landscape, but way back there it is. Yep. So it's really huge. Like that's my background, right? And my logo takes up the majority of the space. So what I'm going to do, of course, is make it smaller so it fits. Now, what Place does in Illustrator, it actually takes a link to your logo as opposed to everything else. Right, so there it is. This is my logo in the background. Now, I chose white for a reason because I know I'm going to use a white background for part of my website, right? But I can also cut it out with a different thing. So here, I mean, I can use, if I was doing print, I can use my logo like in my design. Like let's say I was doing your external document, right? I can certainly use my logo here, you know, the way it is, right? It's no problem. Now, but I need to cut it out, and that's why I wanted to use something like Fireworks. And I wish, I don't know why, but she's not working right now, my Fireworks, right? If I even have to pull it up right now, it's going to say, meh, it's not going to work again. But let's give it a second while she powers up. It could be the memory that I'm using for my virtual machine. And so for now, I'm just going to turn that down. And I'm also recording the video, which is also taking up nice cycles from my stuff. So I'm going to suspend my virtual machine. Hopefully that'll give me a little bit more juice to fire this stuff up. But I think it's an error I think I need to reboot with. That's my take. And I bet you anyone, as soon as I stop this video and we go back out, oh, there it is. See? Fireworks started. As soon as I stopped my virtual machine, which is good. This is a good thing. So this is where I would do my work. I wouldn't do it here in Illustrator. Here, Illustrator is where I'd finally place everything if I was going to do print, right? Or if I was going to create my logo or modify my logo, which I could totally do. But something like a Fireworks or a Photoshop is better from image manipulation. GIMP would be another good variant, right? So again, if I double click on this, it's going to take me here. And now what I can do with Fireworks is I can kill the background. So I want to make the background transparent, right? So now it can fit anywhere else. And the next thing I want to do, if you notice my logo is now shrunk to this big, I can I can go to modify canvas, trim canvas, and what it'll do is now my logo is this big, right? So now if I save my logo, and by the way, it's 403 by 404, that's the size. There it is on the right-hand side there. 403 by 404, the size of my logo, a little bit too big. I'd like to make it smaller. It's pretty big, right? My logo is huge, right? So I'd like to try and make it like, let's say 300 by 300 the most for my website. And then I could always modify it from there. Some people would like to make more than one version, right, of their logo so they can modify it. And again, this would be the cheapest, simplest logo you could possibly make with not a lot of style or, you know, if one of my graphic artist friends looked at this, they were like, Tom, what's wrong with you? Right? But it satisfies the requirements, right? It's not awesome by any means, but if you don't know what to do, then at least it satisfies what we need. So this is 300 by 300 now. I've made it perfectly 300 by 300. And if I go back out to where I have it, which is here, Tom logo, if you notice, my logo is about 225K. It's pretty small, which is about right. It shouldn't be that big, right? It's 72 DPI, so it's working nicely with the web, right? And again, I used a couple tools. I used Blender, and now I'm using Fireworks just to clean it up, right? You don't have to. I could have accepted the white background or cut, and I kept the white background, but why, right? A ping image allows us to use transparencies. And by the way, for those of us who are going to do Web 397 together, when we do our game stuff, we're going to use Fireworks and other programs a lot to use for image manipulation, for creating our images, for images. Yeah. That's why I use that a lot, right? But that's just me. Everyone has their own favorite thing. Okay, so here's my Tom logo. I want to use this when I build my wireframe, even though my wireframe can use a placeholder image or a placeholder spot, right? I'd like to use my real logo. I'm going to create a folder for this thing because I want to kind of put together my portfolio site. So I'm going to call it portfolio site, right? Because we're doing this together, and here's my image. So this is what's in my portfolio site folder right now, just my Tom logo. So let's go back. So I've satisfied this requirement. I've got my unique company logo, one mark for GUI, one mark for content, right? I haven't put it on my website yet, so I can't get any marks. But I'm also going to get marks for my logo from my external documentation. So if I go to external documentation, it says I got my company logo, so that's like 3 marks that I can probably generate right now out of 75. So I'm getting closer. I'm far away, but at least I got some of it, right? Okay, let's go to the next item. So my nav bar that includes links to primary pages of your site. I can't do that right now. A welcome statement I can totally write, a personal tagline, all that stuff we can kind of put together. And we're going to do that in our planning phase, which is way down here in our external document. So here's my company logo. I can definitely do my table of contents when I want to. My navbar section I haven't made yet. I have a typography section, which I'm going to talk about my font, but my wireframe section is what I want to hit today with you guys, right? So I want to create my wireframes, and I talked to you about a couple of wireframing programs. But first, before we do wireframing, this is where I need your help, right? Is we're going to make my portfolio site, right? You're going to help me make Tom's portfolio site with my Tom logo, right? So I need your help. Let's do this together. And this will be, I'm going to use my node to do some brainstorming here, right? And let's go into the right place. I'm going to go into a new document. Right now, here's my mind map. Okay. And in here, I want to kind of figure out my site layout. So the first piece, and this, by the way, I can include this mind map, right? I can include this mind map when I do my external document because this is my planning, right? So I know that I need a couple of things in here. So let's start doing this together. So one of the things I need is, let's go back down here. I need a nav bar, right? And I need some pages. I need a home page, an about me page, a projects page, a services page, and a contact me. Okay, so I need all those pages. So I need a home page, and in my home page, right, that's where it all starts here, right? I need a new node, right? And this node here, I'm just gonna put this down here, my new node, My new node for my thing is going to have, basically, I need an About Me page. Here's About Me, right? And I need another new node, right? I'm going to put this over here, right? And my other new node in here is going to be my, and again, I'm just doing my planning with you guys, right? Let me pull this thing up so we can all see it on the, over my head here, right? About Me page. I need to do this projects page, projects. And you know what else I need? Let's add in there a services. I need to do that. That's one thing I need to plan for my site. And I also need to do a contact me page. So in terms of order, I think what I'd like to do is, it's all about me, this thing, right? So I think my About Me page should be first, right? This is me, that's my idea. I think my contact me page should be over here, and in between, sandwiched between these two things, will be my projects page and my services page. My home page is going to be my hub for everything. Okay. Now in my About Me page, I'm going to just kind of talk about what that is. There's going to be some kind of contact info, right? Contact info, and I'm also going to have in there, in my About Me page, some kind of information about maybe a form, contact form. I think I also need, if I'm not wrong, I'm also going to need some kind of keep connected section. I need that, right? That's the pages that link from my home page, right? So that's my About Me page. How about my projects? Well, I mean, I need a couple projects, right? So let's talk about, if I look through my projects, so here's my About Me page. It says I need my nav bar, I need an image of me. Oh no, oh yeah, I can pull my image from my Gravatar page. I use that same image, right? For those of you who saw that before or whatever, here's my Gravatar. You can go to gravatar.com. And of course today, for some reason, we can't get to Gravatar. Don't know why, right? And Google's down too. This is fantastic, which means my internet's down, which it is up here. This is why I record the way I do, right? So I don't know why it's down, but we leave it the way it is. What I'll do is I'll turn Wi-Fi on and off for now, just to get connected. I love these technical difficulties. They throw a nice wrench in my my plans sometimes, but it's all good, man. It's all good. We're going to continue to. There we go. Back up. Let's go back to my Gravatar page, and if I sign in, do not report. If I sign in to my Gravatar page, let's see if I can do this time. Last time I didn't do it. I wasn't able to get in. So here's my Gravatar page, and you see I've got a bunch of different emails, but my Gravatar page is the same for my email, for my different things, and then I can use the Gravatar page to link to my, you know, as an example, my email or my site for Facebook, if I want to do that, or LinkedIn. So that's my Gravatar page. So you can do the same thing. So I've got my image. I can always go to my Gravatar page, or even go to my GitHub page and right-click and download my image. I already have that. So I have that image of me. I don't need to do that again. So that's what I need there in my bio section. And my latest CV, which means I got to talk about stuff about me, right? And a footer with a copyright statement. So that's my About Me page, right? I've kind of need to put all that stuff together. So let's go back to my mind mapping here. Right.
Does the CV have to be a downloadable link with a document attached to it?
It could be. You don't have to be. It can be something that you put into your page. And I did this wrong. I actually meant that the contact info should be my contact page. Sorry, I meant this. My About Me page is totally different, right? I made a mistake. So here's my contact me with all my contact info. My About Me page has to have my bio, something about me, an image. I need an image of me, right? I need that. And it says that I need to have some kind of footer and nav bar. Well, the nav bar is going to be the same across everything. I'm going to kind of put that on the home page for a second when I do my home page content. So these two things are pretty much all I need, a bio which includes a CV, right, and an image, right? So that's what I need here. And here's my projects page. And if you notice, there's 3 images. I'm going to put the bare minimum here. 3 images representing my current projects or assignments and a footer. So that's all I need for my projects page. So image button, that's what I call it, project 1, right? And then I'll do it again, image button, project 2. And here's the second with the last one, image button. When I say image button, it's you press the image and it takes you to the project, project 3. And of course what I want, these are links. Well, that's not what I wanted. I wanted for this thing to be part of projects again. I just want the order to be a little different, that's all. These things here are links, right? So this would take me obviously to my project 1 page, right? And whatever that is, here's my project 2 page. And this would be my project 3 page. Right, these are links to that, right? And then, okay, that's cool. So I've satisfied those things. And let's go with my services. Let's go back to my projects page. And here's my services page. I've got my nav bar, and it says the services section that includes related images and text for the services I offer, and your tagline summed up in what you do. Okay, and some things like make it clear, break it down. Do I do web design? Do I do development, video, copywriting, branding? What do I do, right? So a couple of sections. So one of them would be what I do. Would be something I put in there. And then maybe a thing like services I offer, right? So maybe what I'd like to do. What I like to do. So let's say there's things like I really like to do. Like I love doing programming, right? I love coding, right? So I put that in there, right? What I like to do, and then services I offer. So that's really in a nutshell what I do there. That's covering all my pages pretty much in my mind map. Right, and now I need to one more section from my home page. It's stuff. So this is all the different links, but my home page needs a nav bar, right? That's for all this stuff. This is where all this stuff comes from. And you know what? Just to make this more apparent, I'm going to link my About Me page to my nav bar, my Projects page to my nav bar, my Services page to my nav bar, my Contact Me page to my nav bar. Right, so that's my nav bar with all this stuff. Right, make sense? This is the brainstorming piece. That's how I do my brainstorming when I put together my website, right? So my nav bar does all this. This is where my nav bar gets all these links to all my different pages, right? And now I can add in another link, right, for myself. I need a Keep Connected panel if I'm not wrong, right? Here's my Keep Connected panel, right? Let's go back here to show you on my home page what I need, right? I need a nav bar, a welcome statement, and a unique company logo. I need that too. So let's go with company logo. Right. Again, there's different ways of doing this kind of stuff, right? So that's my company logo. This is my nav bar, right? And then a welcome statement, a personal tagline. So welcome statement. Right? I'll pull this down so you guys can see it a little better now. I'll make this a little bigger for you guys. Right? Welcome statement. These are all things I'm including in my website. This is my home page with a company logo, a nav bar, welcome statement, a Keep Connected panel. Let's see what else. Personal tagline and your mission statement. So a welcome statement, personal tagline. So I need all these things. So what am I doing here? Why am I doing all this stuff anyway? How come I'm mapping all this out? Right? Why am I mapping this out? these are all the things, these are all my tasks, right? If anything, if I'm doing project management, I'm looking at my, kind of, if I pull back a little bit, my work breakdown structure in a very visual way. I'm looking at it going, hey, these are all the tasks that I got to do to finish off my website, right? These are all the piece parts that I need, so to speak, to get things going. Company logo. And by the way, the reason why I put nav bar here is I know that if I make this nav bar, my nav bar about me, projects, services, and contact me is going to be the same with every page, right? So once I create it once, I can copy it and make it again, right? It's not going to change much. The only thing is that's going to highlight, each of these links is going to highlight differently when I go to them, right? So here's my welcome statement, my personal tagline, my keep connected panel. So I'm getting a graphical view of what my project is going to look like before I start going, right? A call to action button, a featured work slider. There's a lot right on the main page. Call to action button, right? And I know that this is probably going to go over here between these two things, and that's not what I wanted. That's when I reorder these things a little bit differently. There we go. A personal tagline, call to action button, featured work panel, featured work slider, I mean. And what is my featured work slider going to do? Well, it's going to link over to my projects page, right? That's what it's going to do, right? So
I don't see a difference between feature work slider and call to action button.
it's the same. Call to action button is another button that says press here to go to see my work. That's all it is. That's really all it is, right? Projects page. It's literally like, here's a button with an arrow that says press me, or go here, see my work. My work is here. Projects, current projects. An arrow, it could be a clickable, something that's clickable, a clickable image, something that makes it so that you draw the user. It could be something that's flashing, something that's saying that to the user, hey, click me, look at me. Here's my work. If you click me or my work, it'll take me to my projects page, right? Because I want people to see my work. I want people to see what I do, almost like my own self-testimonial to say, this is what I can do when I build my page, right? Take a look at what I can do, and then maybe I can do the same work for you. This is the idea here, right? My keep connected panel's there. And I think if I'm not wrong, on my nav bar, I got my home, about me, project, service, and GitHub, and my contact me. So I missed one. So let's just go with my nav bar. I'm going to add in a GitHub link. GitHub link. Right? That's on my nav bar, right? So that's all the stuff that I got to put on my home page, my company logo, all this kind of stuff. So this is my mind map. Am I missing anything? Would you put anything else in here in addition to this stuff? I'm asking. Let's start over here. Okay, I'm going to ask one of you gentlemen over here in the corner. Tell me what you would put. Would you put anything else in there? Did I miss anything? Would you do something differently for you? This is not a design. This is an outline, or if you want to call it something, a site map for my site. These are all my initial pages that I can think of, right? Are there anything else, any other pages that I would need? Huh? I could put a site map. This would be my primary nav. Here's my primary nav bar. So this is like primary nav. How about a secondary nav? I can probably put that together too, right? So here's my secondary nav, because a lot of sites nowadays have secondary nav at the bottom. It's not part of my requirements, right? But nothing's wrong with adding it in, right? So here's my secondary nav. I'm just going to put it over here, right? And maybe my secondary nav, I definitely want a contact me link. So a link to my contact me page. Contact page, right? Because that's what I wanted to do. Secondary nav does that. And what else? Here I also have in my secondary nav, this is where I'm going to put in my site map. If I'm going to put a site map down here in the bottom, I'm also going to put in maybe my privacy policy. If I'm going to add my privacy policy anywhere, it's going to be down there. I'm also going to put in my, what was that? Terms of use. I was going to say usage policy, but that's for terms of use policy, right? how you can use my site, how you can contact me, how I keep your information if you send me information, all that stuff there, legal stuff, right? And also in my secondary nav, or near the bottom of my secondary nav, I need a footer, right, don't I? Because I've got my primary nav, I've got my secondary nav, and you know what, my secondary nav probably should be at the bottom of my page. So just from a view perspective, to remind me, I'm going to put it way back down here, right? So this is my top, my company logo, maybe at the same level as my primary nav, and I can put it on this side just to show that. So here's my company logo, primary nav, and my company logo will also link to my site, right, like it normally does for most sites. Here's my secondary nav bar down here. Maybe I also want to use under my primary nav, if I'm going to add anything else in there, for example, breadcrumbs, right, which shows me where I'm at.
Can you give an example of breadcrumbs?
Sure. I'm just playing the first site. Here, this is an example of breadcrumbs right here. See, it says these are different links to show you where you're at. Almost like, here, these are the links, and then here's where I'm at, right? And sometimes they say when you should use it. There's some really good tips on, and I just went to a random site to put this up, by the way. But if you don't know what it is, you can always look it up on Google, just like I did, and it pulls it right up.
I think that's a sitemap. But the breadcrumbs, there's a
Here it is.
control in the .NET framework where it is called sitemap.
Yeah.
And that's exactly the breadcrumb control.
But you see this, how I have these two greater than signs? That's kind of a classic breadcrumb right here. This is what it looks like. Almost like these links that aren't buttons, but you can follow. Say, well, this is where I am, but I want to go back. I don't want to go back to where I was before, right? So I'm on my home. I'm on my bio page, but I want to go back to my home page, and it shows where you came from, right? So if you're down into your the links for your site, you can always go back. It's a different way of navigating, almost like a tertiary navigation scheme, right? So primary, secondary, maybe even a second. I would call it secondary, right? Secondary nav. So that's breadcrumbs. So there's some breadcrumbs there, and in my breadcrumbs, it's going to show me, and I'll say it shows me which page I'm on, right? And almost like a link back to the pages, or maybe a map of, like you said, a site map. Shows me the path, shows me a link path to the page I'm on. Right? Shows me a link path to the page I'm on. Make sense? Right? Here's my breadcrumbs, my primary nav, my secondary nav's down here. My company logo's on this left-hand side and stuff like that. Is there anything else I'm missing? I'm trying to get my maximum marks here, right? So if you look on optional components down on the bottom, it says include a working form. I already did that. Sitemap, breadcrumbs, terms of use, privacy policy. Oh, and icons in your nav bar. I need icons, right? So that's something that from a nav bar design perspective that would have to do if I was going to add that in, right? Okay, so my mind map is complete, I think, unless you guys have anything else to add.
What do you mean by include icons in your nav bar?
So, okay, let's go back to Google. That's the question. Icons in the nav bar, right? So if I go to images, right? So here's my nav bar, and then I've got icons underneath, or icons on the left or on the right, right? As an example. And why do we do that? It's because, and we can do that, by the way, with Foundation allows you to do that. It allows you to kind of say, when I go into small, replace my text with a button, with an icon, right? So that way it makes sense from a mobile perspective. And also visually, it makes sense to add things like this in here. And by the way, I showed you some icon packs, I think last week, right? Of where to get the icons from and how to create your packs. And you can include those in your nav bar, right? Okay, so again, I think I got most of my stuff here, and now I want to save this thing, right? I can print it or do something with it, you know, as an example. But this is my my file, right? So let's save this thing first, right? And it tells me, okay, well, where do I want to save? It's called home, where under my Node Pro. I don't want to do that. I want to put it under in the same location. I'm working on the Mac, but it doesn't really matter for you, right? What you want to see more than anything else is on your machine. You'd probably put it in your site file. When you're starting to create your portfolio site, which is right here, this is where I'm going to put my sitemap. Right? So here's my sitemap. I'm going to save it. Right? I can also, in my node, I can export it, right, for different formats, like a PDF, right, or an image. I think image might work the best for me, but because PDF, I can always make a PDF of my image, right? So let's go to image. I'll make it a PNG format with a transparent background, sure, and press next. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go to my portfolio site, which is where I want to put it. And I'm going to kind of drop it in there. Now I don't need this anymore. Okay, so let's go back and take a look at that thing that I made. I'm going to close up my node, right? I'm going to go to my sitemap here. Here it is. And in my sitemap, right, if I double click, it opens up my node again, so I can always get back to it. Just want to check. But here in my ping image, I can open this with Fireworks, my favorite program, right? And here's what my node will look like. So this is all the stuff that I just did, right? And kind of a little thing that I can include in my external documentation, right? I mean, worst case scenario, guess what? I could include this thing if I'm really desperate in a page that's called sitemap, right? I mean, if I want to, I can dress it up and make it into a page, its own page, right? Like actually an image with clickable links. So each of these hot spots would be clickable, and then you can go to different pages if you wanted to do it. If I wanted it to be fancy. Right? But more or less, this is a kind of a link, or kind of an image that I can use for myself if I want to embed it into my external document, which is what I would probably do. So I would have like a thing that says sitemap, and then I would take my mind node, my brainstorming, and throw it into my external document. Right? Any questions to what I did here? Right? So again, I kind of put together this mind map, or I did a little bit of brainstorming. I pulled together my assignment number 1 document, and I said, what is it that I need to kind of create? This is my workflow that I have to have, or my work breakdown structure is more what I want to do. And here's all the things I need. I'm going to hit each one of these pieces when I create my my website, right? I have to be organized, or if I'm not organized, I might miss something, right? And then I won't get maximum marks. Okay, so this is it. And by the way, the underlying reason when we're doing this thing is to promote you, right? This isn't about me. This is about you, right? Because we're going to use this place. We're going to use this to learn from. We need a site or some place to learn from when we add more functionality, right? So this is why we're also creating this thing. My logo, my sitemap, I understand. Now let's pull together my my wireframes. Okay, and again, I showed you some free and open source mind mapping software last week, so you could certainly you have used that to do this as opposed to Node Pro, right? Okay, now I'm going to do my my mock-up, right? So I'm going to go into Balsamiq, right? And this is where I do my mock-up for my site. Now I know I need to make it responsive, which means I need a couple of designs at the bare minimum. I'm going to make this as big as I can here for you guys, right? So I need a browser window for sure. So this is my browser window, right? And my browser window, I'm going to kind of, this web page is going to be like, I'll call it my portfolio site. And maybe it's going to be called, if I was going to use my name, something like Ciliopolis.com, right? Which I don't think so. But let's just use that. So this is my portfolio site as kind of a browser window. I'm definitely going to make my first wireframe. It's going to be something like at least 1024 wide, because I want to make it desktop. This is my desktop wireframe, right? So it's got to be at least 1024 wide, right? 1024 wide, by the way, is pretty not that wide either, right, nowadays. And it's 1024, and if you notice, it's the right size here. 1024 right now by at least 768, which is what I want to go to. I can always, by the way, change my the size manually if I wanted to by going to custom properties And I can add more properties in here. Let's just make it bigger. Let's drag and drop it here. 1024. Love it. 768. So that's my space for my browser window right here, right? Now it gives me a lot of window, a lot of space here, right? Here's my property inspector. I could have done it right here. It gives me a lot of space to do things like what kind of background do I want right now? What's my color, and so on. What's my border style, and all that kind of stuff, right? What's my scroll bar look like? As an example, I can increase or change the size. I can put my scroll bar anywhere I want, right down in to make it as realistic of a wireframe as I can. Here's my border style, right? So it tells me if I want to have a different kind of border or whatever. Here's my layering and so on. This is like an advanced little program that does a lot of little things that I don't really need right now. Right? Here's my color. So right now it's kind of this grayish color, and I want to go with more of a white color. All right, so there's my white color because I want my site to be brighter than just a gray color. So this is more of a mock-up now. All right, I need to place my logo. So this is going to be more my image kind of comes in, right? I think when I do my design, if I was going to do it the traditional way, I'd probably put my logo somewhere on the left-hand side here, right? So this is my logo, right? And I want to make it, by the way, from an image perspective, I can also do the size of what it would be so I can see it on the screen. So I'm going to go like 300 by 300, right? So this is the size that I have currently for my logo. To me, it's really freaking big, eh? That's massive, right? 300 by 300. So I know that my logo design is too big for my 768, 1024 by 768. So I need to make this a little bit smaller. So maybe I'll go with 150 by 150, which makes maybe a little bit more sense, right? And that 150 by 150 will probably be big enough for the right size. Here, let's go back to the screens. This is my 1024 by 768 with 150 by 150 for my logo, right? So see, that was pretty big before. So now I know that I need that size. See, this is why wireframing is good. I chose 300 by 300. Well, guess what I have to do now? I know as I'm setting up my stuff, I'm going to go back into my Tom logo. Tom logo is 600 by 600, right? Maybe I want to rename this, or 300 by 300. I want to kind of rename this 300, right? And then I'm going to go in there again, and I'm going to go, here's my 300. I'm going to change this. I'm going to resize this thing here in my software so that I'm down to 150 by 150. I can do it manually like this, right? Or I can just go down here in my properties and change it to 150 by 150 because I know it's proportional right now, right? And I'm going to modify canvas. I'm going to trim my canvas up, and I'm going to save this as Tom logo 150. So I have a different version of my logo that's 150 pixels by 150, right? I'll close this up. Close these things down for now, just so that just take memory for my system. I'm doing a lot of things here. All right, so this is my logo. Here's my link. If I want to link, I can also put my web address physically here if I want to make a true mock-up. If I want to, I can put my default placeholder as an example, or if you notice here, it gives me the option to put some assets, so I can browse for a file. Right, and I know that I'm using my my portfolio site, and here's my 150 image. I can use this as one of my assets, and I can load it up. Right, so this is my logo. Yeah.
I have a question about logos.
Yeah.
Is having them in square format better, or when you have a rectangular format for logos? Because nowadays it's rectangular format. I'm saying, is there a standard that says logos have to be square?
No. There's no standard. Logos are logos. Logos can be as wild and awesome and as imaginary as you want them to be, right? It could be almost like a watermark too. There's so many different ways to do different things. There is no limitation to how you make your stuff. It's all in your mind, right? but it has to be something that's identifiable to you, like your signet ring, like I said before, or your, your shield device, if you will. Hopefully, you guys are doing this with me, so that way you've already started on your project, right? If you haven't done this with me, please get going. Do this with me. Use some tools to follow along. Make your logo. Do your site mapping as we go. So again, my logo traditionally would be on the left-hand side here. But let's say I don't want to do that. I want to make my logo like a badge, right? Because I like that more than anything else. So I'm going to move this thing kind of to the center of my screen. And again, my Balsamiq helps me out here. So this is my kind of my center screen, right? And maybe this is where I want to put my logo for my site, because I don't want to make it a standard site. Okay, cool. Let's go back to my mind map for a second to make sure I got everything. I know I need my nav bar, and maybe what I want to do is I want to break my nav bar over both sides. So one part of my nav is on this side, maybe the other part of my nav is on the right side, right? So that's the design I want, right, for my logo. Almost looks like a cue ball, eh? Bowling ball. I mean, I play pool ball, right? The black ball, that's Tom, right? The 8 ball, that's right. Let's add in a nav bar. So if you notice, there's some common here. I have some common options here. By the way, Balsamiq also does site mapping. So if I was going to drag the site map down, I could do it from here as well with Balsamiq. I use MindNode Pro only because I wanted you to have an option just to see that. There's something more similar to that online. Okay, so here's my menu bar. I'm going to drag that in here, and I'm going to put one part of my menu bar on this side and the other part on the other side, right? So I'm going to break my nav bar over 2 sections. That's how I want my nav bar to appear, right? Because I'm designing my head here, right? Now, let's go back to my document to know what I need, right? So again, I use this document as my main document here. I need in my nav bar a home, about me, project, services, and GitHub, and a contact me. So maybe on the right side, I'm going to put like a contact me and a contact me page and maybe some my GitHub link. So that's all I need on that side. So let's do that. So here's about me and GitHub, right? So here it is right here. Now again, I can go, when I click on this thing, right, my menu bar, I could certainly design this anywhere I want. It says auto size is on right now. It tells me the position physically on my page, right? So this helps me build my wireframe here, right? I could also include icons, my icon library, right, to include different things that I want, right, on my page. Like for example, I need an about me page, maybe, or a contact me page. Maybe the telephone icon would be okay. So I'm going to kind of select that, and if you notice, I can put that anywhere I like, right? Or I can just remove it if I don't like it. The other thing that I can do here with my about me, if you notice there's no link, I can set up links for my page. I don't have one right now. I can also choose which one is selected, if one is selected or not, right? Layering and styles and border and everything else, I can do that. I can also make it a little bigger, right? Because I think my about me and everything else should be a little bit bigger than this, right? Maybe more squarish, like. Okay, makes sense. And again, this is just relative positioning. My final product will look a little different than this, obviously, right? So that's kind of one piece of it. Okay, this is it. And now that I have my menu bar, I want another one, right? So because I want to kind of simulate what it would be like to have my menu bar split up into 2 sections and my logo being like a badge, right? Because that's what I'm thinking that I want to try and do. So I need my home on this side, right? A home link. And then maybe something like a projects and services, right, is what I think I need there. So home, about me, projects and services, and GitHub. Okay, so, but hold on, my about me should be my first thing. This is about me. So really it should be like this. I meant to put my contact on the other side. And maybe projects. Right, so I kind of missed that, right? So here it is, and maybe make it the same size, just to make it the same size as my other link. I'm just going to make it so it's kind of spans off the same size. There we go. Right, just so it's the same. And you see the great thing about this program is it kind of helps me align everything. It's not about me, it's contact me. Contact me, and then services, right? So kind of like that. Did I kill it? No, I did not. I just didn't include that. All right, so now I can take a look and see if it looks balanced. Like, do I like that look? How do I feel about it? Is this the kind of look that I want, right? This is the great thing about wireframing. I haven't designed anything yet, and here I'm designing, I'm putting my piece parts together, right? Now, as a developer, you might sit there and go, Tom, I'm a developer. I'm never going to have to design a website in my life, right? Yeah, but you need to understand design a little bit. So if some designer gives you this thing and says, I want you to build this, right? Here's my design. You should be able to receive it, look at it, and go, okay, I know what to do, right? Here's my home page, right? And if it says selected, I want to definitely make my home page the one that's selected, right? So this is what my home page is going to look like selected when I come to my home page, right? I can choose that. Okay, cool. So I've got my navigation scheme. I've got to add in some other things too, right, as I move forward. And what we're going to do right now is, because we've run probably about an hour or so, I'm going to take a moment to save this movie and come back with the second part of this wireframing journey.